I had to talk about Divinity Original Sin.
Okay.
Yes, I've been playing that quite consistently. I sort of sat down and I saw all these scattered desktop icons and thinking, oh, I should probably finish some of these. And I thought, right, I'm going to pick that one because I'm doing quite well, gotten quite far, and I know what will happen. I'll just sort of, peter out somewhere 2/3 the way in and then never come back to it and
Yeah.
not know what was going on when I do. So I thought, no, I'm going to knuckle down and actually focus on this one. So I've been playing it quite extensively and relatively exclusively in my spare time. So yes, it's your Baldur's Gate style of thing. It's such a very well made game. It's the production value is high, the voice work's brilliant, the gameplay itself. I mean, yeah, obviously you got the Baldur's Gate running around little circles under the people, visiting towns and monster lairs and so on, looking for treasure, traps, all that. But what they've done with the combat is really quite interesting and fascinating. It's turn based, so you get your little action pips appear, and everyone gets a turn and can spend so many action points on doing different abilities or moving or whatever. But what they've done with AoE effects and environmental effects and interacting environmental effects is really quite fascinating. Things like you can fire off a spell that shoot an arrow that has a big cloud of green poisonous gas around an area, and everyone in it will start taking poison damage over time. But if you drop a fire spell in there, that cloud will explode and turn into a fire area. Water puddles will electrocute if you fire lightning into them, that kind of thing. And so working the terrain and the map itself is as much a part of combat as attacking the enemies and prioritising targets and so on. There's spells which will clear the field of lava and fire damage and all the rest of it. There's a lot of crowd control stuff. That's very important. Knockdowns, stuns, blinds, stuff. Charming. That's been really good for me. Actually, that's been really useful all the way through. There are charm arrows. There's like a charm grenade, a sort of love potion grenade AoE blast thing, and also a direct spell that will do it. And it will literally turn a creature to your side, and it starts acting in your turn sequence and attacking the enemies, and depending on what you hit with that, it can really transform. I was stuck with one particular boss fight where there was like a massive demon thing and a whole load of hulking cyclops monsters with it, and a few caster charming ones as well. The hulking cyclops monsters, they were absolutely pasting me because they hit really hard, but they got quite a low will save. As is traditional, big strong monsters are rarely all together up there. So
just sizest.
It's very it is a real trope that the large physical creatures are very vulnerable to mind control. But I was glad it was there because a couple of charm arrows and they just turned around and absolutely wailed on the boss and killed him. So this fight I'd been having, it was a really complicated fight with the boss. There's a load of chained spirits, one in each corner of the room, 4 of them, and every time they got a turn, they would completely heal from scratch all the way to full the boss. So you have to sort of dismantle the enemies in the right sort of sequence to get it through. But then, just charming 2 of these giant Cyclops monsters, they just wailed in, and they were so utterly overpowered in melee combat that they just flattened him in one turn, killed him before the chain spirits could heal him at all. So that worked quite well. But the narrative's interesting, and it's not like we were talking about, the stories holding your hand and directing you from A to B. I got it completely wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I think I missed 2 or 3 different dungeons, and I visited different places in the wrong order, and had to go back and find some other stuff to do to unlock this, that, and the other. Well, it wasn't. I mean, there are whole sections I just completely skipped over. I'm at what I believe to be the final fight now. It's all, the story itself's come to quite a climax, and I've killed quite a number of small, lesser lieutenants, and are now homing in on the boss, which is an evil sorceress who's been sort of plaguing me throughout these lands. It's not a huge game. I mean, there are 3 overland maps, but those maps are so utterly full of every single corner's full of something interesting, and the fight, and just there's no real concept of yard trash in this game because of the way the fighting is so involved and technical and takes time to get through. I've been playing it for a good couple, several months, and there's only 3 maps. There's a bunch of side caves and things as well, but 3 main overland maps. And yes, I've been sort of working through the inevitable. It turns out you were a lot more than you remember type subplot story thing going on. But that's been handled well enough for its type. It doesn't sort of just hand wave everything and you were so and so all along. It's more of a journey of self discovery that you unlock as you work your way through the main sort of in world story going on, but also this story with you and the 2 characters that you've created at the start, and who and what they actually turn out to be, which is fascinating. And it's all coming together in quite a satisfying sort of denouement, I think. You know,
Yeah.
I imagine I've got some really awkward boss fight to do at the end. I mean, it would be bonus marks if you could just kill the end boss with dialogue, but you know, not everything's Planescape Torment.
No.
But it's engaging. It's well thought out. The game systems work well and with each other. Some very good voice acting, which you know you don't get a lot of these days.
No.
And I'm just really enjoying the journey. I'll be sad when it's over. You're sort of developing up your various classes, and they go in. You can multi-class all your characters. Essentially, you pick from like about 9 different class skills, and you can mix and match them together to tailor the character to be how you want. And those classes come in sort of novice, adept, and master ranks. And by the time your character party reaches sort of level 16 or 20 or so, you're unlocking access to these master abilities, skill books and whatever, and they really are utterly overpowered game changers for fighting. But then you are fighting some insanely powerful stuff at the top end as well. It's very easy, and I've talked about it before, it's very easy for those fights to suddenly change on you or suddenly go wrong. If your main tank and key melee damage dealer suddenly get knocked over or petrified or charmed even, God forbid, they just start turning around and wailing on you and killing your wizards in one hit per go and stuff. You can suddenly go. You've really got to be on the ball and focus and understand how the game works. It's got quite a steep learning curve. I remember the first couple of weeks I was playing it. The early areas you've got to tackle in a very specific order in line with your initial power creep. But then you start to get more abilities, more diversity. You start to get better gear, and you know you start to feel more capable and confident of moving forward at the right place. And of course you start to understand the tricks and the quirks. And I don't want to call them exploits because I imagine that it's fine to use these skills the way they're designed, you know. But there are certain ways to use certain abilities that work well, and there are ways to use your abilities or skill picks that work really badly, which is, it's such a strange thing, but that is really quite unusual.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because the power distribution curve and creep in most characters going through most long story-based games is a very prescribed thing. You go from place to place to place. I mean, open world games, your Ubisoft open worlds and whatever, there'll be whole sections of locked off abilities. You can't climb high enough to do this, that and the other, or you haven't unlocked this part of the map.
Or the gate won't open.
Yeah, exactly. Your grappling hook isn't powerful enough to attack things that are too powerful for you. The idea that you can be let loose in a world where you will get stomped if you go the wrong way is quite unusual. But then with that comes a lot more personal responsibility for understanding how your abilities and your class work, which, you know, generally you're given the stuff and it works and you get on you go. But you have to really sort of practice with this stuff to get a grasp of how the different environmental effects interact, or you know, in what ordering you want people to go. And so, you know, buffing their initiative and their speed stats will make them have a higher or lower appearance in the turn sequence.
Okay, yeah.
So I found that having the marksman high up, because naturally, obviously they're dexterity based, but you can buff their speed and initiative as well to make them go first. And so often the gear synergizes with a high turn order, which means that the marksman is then best placed to open the fight with charm arrows or massive sudden AoE, long-term effects. Then you can move in the tank, and the wizards can support by summoning the various pets and whatever. You start to build up a bit of a standard routine, and then you find that your standard routine is utterly subverted by this new type of encounter that they've put in the way. Yeah. You know, there are very different ways to deal with it. It's not just, right, okay, open fire with the archer, then in goes the melee, and we'll follow up with fireballs. You know, you'll come across creatures who are utterly immune to particular damage types or require totally different strategies. It's a really clever and well thought out game. I mean, I've got the enhanced edition, so I don't know how much of it is game of the year.
I don't know.
Game of the year tweaking and patching and so on, but certainly where it is now is a very good place. I've seen Divinity Original Sin 2 is in early access.
Oh,
yeah. If it's just more of the same, that would be good. But I don't do early access on principle, really. I'll be quite looking forward to seeing that when it actually comes out, though. So I recommend that highly. I'm probably quite close to finishing it, and again, it's one of these where I don't think I'll bother playing it again much afterwards. I mean, there's bits I've missed, I know, but then it's not the sort of game where it is a linear progression and you have to hit every single thing. There's a lot of side stuff that you maybe do need to do or don't need to do. I sort of found myself coming back to some of the side stuff I'd missed and totally overpowering it because it's now like 4 levels higher than I should have been. That was quite satisfying as well, but But yeah, very, very satisfying game, and really, to be honest, I think I enjoyed it more than I ever remember enjoying Baldur's Gate and
Oh, that's
similar, back in the day, because it is smarter and cleverer and better looking and all these things we've learnt over the years, but is still the familiar old format,
Yeah.
So I'm liking that a lot. I'm be quite glad to get it finished though, not because I'm not enjoying it. I am. I want to play other stuff as well. I got Pillars of Eternity and Tides of Torment Numenera thing as well. Both of those I want to try. They're very similar sorts of
Incredibly
games.
similar sort.
Yeah, exactly. I really sort of quite enjoying the oldie Baldur's Gate style of thing still. So looking forward to replacing Divinity with one of those when I
Cool.
get done with it. Good times. Recommend it a lot.